If you think a honey wagon is an RV full of beautiful women,
or a Stinky Slinky is something that's on your kids' or grandkids' Christmas list, man, do you need to watch this video.
Hi, my name's Dan.
I'm Dina.
And we're Rivers to Ridges RV. We wanted to create a video for the entry level or the newbie RVer, and that's what we're going to go through today. Just a lot of the general terms I think every RVer really needs to understand, and these are a lot of the terms that we had to learn when we first started researching RVing. But for the experienced RVer, we have something for you guys as well. We're really hoping, if you're an experienced RVer, to be honest with you, you're probably not going to learn anything new from these terms.
You already know them all.
You already know them all. Yeah. But we'd appreciate it. Just put the video on in the background, listen. Once the video's over, go ahead and if you have some terms that you thought of that we didn't add into our list, put it in the comments below and just help some of the newbies out.
Yeah, like us.
Just, you know,
we'd appreciate it.
Help somebody else out, and hopefully we can get enough of the experienced RVers to put some more definitions and terms in the comments that it really helps everybody out.
Definitely.
Now, we tried to separate these terms into 4 general categories. I think we did RV types of RVing, like weights and balances, that kind of stuff, and just some general terms like that. So we're going to go ahead and get started with types of RVs. And we do have a list here with us, so we will be.
We would never remember all these. We're still learning.
So again, this is our first general category is types of RVs, and the first one we have is camper. Now, a camper, honestly, is really any kind of RV, anything that you can sleep in or go camping in. Now, the one thing that we have noticed, I think, as a general rule of thumb, it seems like the word camper is used more on the East Coast of the United States.
Yeah.
And more as you come out west, they start using RV. So again, a camper is just a general term for anything you can camp in.
Yeah, we've actually had a few people tell us or ask us, where are you going when we say camper?
Yeah.
Where are you from? Oh, you're from the East Coast, aren't you?
Yep.
How'd you know?
Next one we have is rig. Now, a rig, again, this is just kind of a slang term for a camper or an RV. Interchangeable. You're going to hear people say camper, RV, rig. A lot of these are interchangeable. There's a few down here as we get further into our list that really aren't interchangeable, though. Next one we have is a motorhome. Now, this is kind of a broad category, and we'll talk about the different kinds of motorhomes, but a motorhome is really just a camper or an RV that you can drive, something with a motor in it, and that's how they get the term motorhome. Now that we know what a motorhome is, and again, actually there's another name for motorhome, which is the coach. But motorhome is kind of subdivided into, I think, 3 different groups. You have a Class A motorhome, and this is what I think a lot of people picture in their heads when you say the word coach or you say the word motorhome. If you picture like a big bus, sometimes you'll actually see converted school buses, all the way up to multi-million-dollar, just beautiful motorhomes.
And we have seen some beautiful ones.
These are Class A motorhomes, and they're kind of the largest motorhomes on the market. Next, you have a Class B motorhome. Now, these are actually starting to get, or maybe a new type of them, I guess.
And I didn't know that they were called Class B.
Yeah. These are getting really popular, I think, these last couple of years. So when
camper vans.
Yeah.
Who knew?
Think of a Class B, think of a camper van. Just a van that's been retrofitted for camping. You can have beds, bathroom, a shower in there, and everything else. These are usually the smallest type of a motorhome. But I think they're practical for a weekend trip.
There are so many on the road
and they're
nowadays.
Pretty cool.
Yeah,
they're pretty cool.
They are.
Next motorhome we have is a Class C. Now these, the way I remember a Class C, you'll see these going down the road. The beds are on top of the cab of the truck, right? So if you have a like it's almost like a van type vehicle, but the cab where you would sleeve is over the cab, and it kind of reminds me of a letter C over the cab. And that's how
Backwards C.
A backwards C. And that's how I kind of remembered this when we first started learning. Again, these, you know, some of these can get pretty expensive and pretty big, and actually big enough to tow a vehicle behind them. Again, this is a motorhome, pretty popular. You see these all over the place.
Yeah, a lot.
Coach. We already talked about a coach. A coach is just another name for a motorhome, interchangeable. Diesel puller, or FRED, front end engine diesel, I believe it is.
I did not know that either.
I just learned that.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, now you tell the truth.
So a diesel puller, the way I can describe these is picture like I guess the best way is like a diesel pickup truck or a diesel semi truck with an RV on the back. So it doesn't have to be a semi, but that's kind of how I picture it in my head. But the engine is in the front of the vehicle, so you're pulling the RV behind you. So that's a diesel puller. Now the opposite of that is a diesel pusher. And again, picture like a coach, a motorhome, a Class A. A lot of those, the diesel engines, they can't have gas engines. They're in the back, so it's pushing the coach or pushing the motorhome. It's called a diesel pusher. Dinghy. Let's talk about dinghies and toads, and not that kind of toad either. I don't know where you're going. If you got the wrong kind of toad, you're really a newbie. So a dinghy or a toad, interchangeable. These are just tow vehicles. These are, again, usually you'll see them on a big Class A. There's some Class C's you'll see. I've even seen toads being pulled behind some of the larger Class B's. All it is another vehicle that you're pulling behind your RV. So it's a dinghy or a toad. And speaking of dinghies and toads, tow dolly. This is just usually it's like 2 wheels attached to the back of an RV, and you would hook your toad up to it. So you would have your towed vehicle, your toad, the front tires would go up on the tow dolly. It gets strapped in, tied down, and now you can pull it down the road with the front tires off the ground. So that's a tow dolly. Fiver, probably one of our favorite kind of RVs. Fiver or a fifth wheel RV. These are very easy to spot. Usually you'll have like a pickup truck like we do, and the best way to describe it is a fiver has it's called a kingpin up in the very front, and the hitch, instead of being hitched to the back of like a pickup truck on your bumper, it's actually hitched inside the bed. You have a hitch in the bed of the truck, and the kingpin of the fiver or the fifth wheel is attached to the hitch in the bed of the truck. So that's a fiver. Now they're actually I believe they're a little bit safer to tow than a tow behind, but that's what a fiver is. Travel trailer. A travel trailer is kind of similar to a fifth wheel, except you hook up the front of a travel trailer to the back, or like the bumper, typical
like
a ball hitch on the back of a tow vehicle. So the fiver or the fifth wheel connects up into the bed of a tow vehicle, and a travel trailer hooks up to the back of a tow vehicle.
Also known as a TT.
A TT, yep. Truck camper. Truck campers are pretty cool. Again, it's just think of a pickup truck that has a camper in the bed of it, and lots of times you'll see these. They're usually, you can take them out when you're not using them.
Right.
Again, these, lots of times they'll have a bed section that goes up over the cab of the pickup truck. These are very great, I think, in certain instances or situations. If you're just going somewhere for a weekend to go for a hike or rock climbing or something like that, you don't plan on needing your vehicle, you park it there and you set it up. It's not very big, but it's good enough for a weekend to go out and have a good time. So those are truck campers.
Serves its purpose.
And last but not least in this category is pop-up campers, and this is where we actually started when we camping years ago with my parents, we started in a pop-up camper.
Not we.
No.
You with your family.
Yeah, me. Oh, yeah.
I didn't know you that young.
But we had a pop-up camper, and we stayed in those for years and kind of grew in, bigger and bigger campers. But a pop-up, it's just what it says. It's a little small camper. Usually you pull it behind a tow vehicle. You may have to, I haven't been in one in years, but lots of times it may have a hard top with canvas sides that extends out, and when you're done with it, you kind of stow it, or the top will retract down and you can tow it behind.
And they have come a long way since you were in one.
Yeah.
I think they have AC and heat and all kinds of good stuff now.
So there's a lot of different kinds of RVs, campers, rigs. So again, those are some of the general terms for RVs and campers. The next category we have is types of camping, and again, these are very loose categories. We just tried to split them up somehow. So the first one we're going to talk about is multiple names kind of for the same thing. We have boondocking, dry camping, or primitive camping. So let's go with just boondocking. Boondocking is kind of the preferred term. Usually when I picture primitive camping, I'm thinking of tents in the
tent. Yeah, definitely.
Out in the woods and in the back somewhere where you're hiking and you're out. That's how I think of primitive camping.
I guess there's primitive camping with the RVs too, but
we've got microwaves and washer and dryers.
I know. I could never imagine getting a fifth wheel somewhere really primitive like that. It'd be kind of scary, I would think, trying to get it to that location, but I guess people do.
So we'll go with boondocking again. Seems to kind of be the general term. This is really just camping without any hookups. You can be in the middle of some BLM land. You can be in the Walmart parking lot, anywhere where you don't have hookups. So you're relying on yourself. If you have a generator, you can use a generator and whatnot, but normally you don't have shore power to hook up to, you don't have water, and you definitely don't have sewer to hook up. So that's what's known as boondocking.
Yeah.
One of our favorites, because we've been doing this for a while now. Maybe a little too long.
A little too long. Thank God our son and daughter-in-law love us. At least we think they do.
They might
They're really good actors, if not, we must say.
So again, we have similar terms for the same thing: mooch docking, driveway surfing, and yamping. Yamping is yard camping, but we're going to go with mooch docking. That seems to be the most popular term. So mooch docking is really, again, it's kind of what we're doing now. We came out to California to visit our son and daughter-in-law, and right now we're parked on the side of their house, mooch docking off of their electricity, their water. And anything else we get a hold of, right? They don't know. Just don't tell them I said that.
We really weren't expecting to be here this long. It's because of my knee replacement surgery that has taken us a little bit longer to leave, but not too much longer to go, and we'll be heading north.
So again, mooch docking, it's a great way. You're going to go visit family, as long as you have access. Maybe if they're on a big yard, you can park next to their house, use some of their electricity, some of their water and sewage, and works out. Works out great. Glamping. This is you. Glamping is just a general term for camping with stuff, right?
I mean a little bit more
You're not
necessity, nice necessity, nice assets. I
mean, I consider this glamping.
Yeah, but
right?
a lot of people don't. A lot of people see our videos and see how we're living, and they're like, I could never do that. Where's the closest hotel? Because I could never do that. I just can't get it. I just love it. We just love it.
So glamping, the difference between glamping and camping, again, this is up for debate, but picture camping. I would picture tents, maybe sleeping in a tent or something like that on the ground. Glamping, you can rent like yurts and some cabins and all that's considered like kind of glamping. If some of these are pretty nice. If you're in a Class A, some of these nicer Class A's, you're definitely glamping. WallyDock.
Oh yeah.
You want to talk about WallyDock?
And we haven't done it yet, but
No.
I'm sure I know a lot of people do, and we see it.
So WallyDocking is basically camping in a Walmart parking lot.
Yeah.
A lot of Walmarts will allow you to spend a night in their parking lot. Now, not all of them. You do want to talk to the manager or somebody inside and get permission. But in
Sometimes
general,
they'll ask you where they'll designate you to a certain area.
in general, though, you can park at a Walmart parking lot. Again, as long as you ask, permission, get permission for that. Kind of the only stipulation to this is just kind of common courtesy. It's usually just for one night. Maybe you're kind of passing through a town or something like that. You just need a quick place to stay. So it doesn't mean you're setting up your
lounge chairs and your grill and all that.
And it's just they're being polite by letting you stay.
Yeah.
Common courtesy would be maybe to go into the store and buy some food or some groceries, and then just pick up all your trash before you leave, and just leave your site better than when you got there.
Yeah.
So that's WallyDocking. There's also what's the other one? Cracker Barrel.
Oh,
Cracker Barrel's also another one that they'll usually allow you to.
I think there's another one that we're not
stay.
thinking of, but I can't remember.
I think those are two biggies.
Oh yeah, those are the two biggies.
So again,
I like the name though, WallyDock.
WallyDock.
That's cute.
Okay, an extended stay site. Basically, what it says, there's some campgrounds that you may only be allowed to stay in the campground for say 2 weeks at a time, or maybe X number of days or X number of weeks within a year period or 365-day period. Now, there's other campgrounds that, to be honest with you, some people just live in, and these would be like an extended stay. We've been in a lot of campgrounds where we could be next to somebody. They have a fence around part of their RV. They
like
could have
a regular fence.
Yeah, they could have a storage shed in the back. So these would be,
they're living there. Yeah,
these would be
permanent.
extended stay sites. Full hookup. Full hookup. Now, generally, there are some exceptions to every rule, but generally, full hookup means when you go to a campground, you're going to have electricity, you're going to have water, and you're going to have sewage. And those are your three necessities out of a campground. I have heard of some people say that they've reserved a full campground site and they've realized they get there's no sewage.
Yeah.
So again, as a general rule of thumb though, full hookup means water, electric, and sewage. Partial hookups, not quite a full hookup. Partial hookup usually means water and electricity, no sewage. And what that means as an RVer or a camper, you're going to be using your tanks. You're going to have to store any wastewater, shower water, anything like that. And you're going to have to go to a dump. We'll talk about these terms in a minute. You're going to have to dump it yourself. You're going to be responsible for getting rid of that, the wastewater yourself.
Right.
You can't do it right there at the campsite. We got a pull-through site. These are so nice, especially when you're towing a really big rig.
Especially when you're new, pulling a really big rig.
That is actually a pretty good suggestion or comment. We did this when we first started RVing. We would try to book pull-through sites. Yeah. Again, we're pulling a 43-foot RV or fiver or rig. And it was new to us, so I really didn't want to have to, with everything else we had to learn, I didn't want to have to back up in front of a bunch of people, so we tried to get pull-through sites as we first started, learning, and then as we got on, it's not a problem now. But a pull-through site, you can just kind of pull in.
They are really nice.
Yeah, stay there as long as you want, and when you're done, you kind of pull out and continue on. It goes hand in hand with a pull-through site is a back-end site. These are very, very common. There's probably more back-end sites, I think, than pull-through sites.
Right.
It's exactly what it says. You can't pull through this site. Usually a back-end site, the back half of it could be up against a lake, a river, some trees, another campsite. So you can't pull through. You have to back your RV into the site. So that's what's called a back-end site. And we also have this kind of another way of camping. It's called work camping. Work camping. One word. All that really means is if you go to a campground, maybe you work out a deal that says, hey, I'll work 4 hours a day, for 5 or 6 days and give me a free night stay, or a couple days. I'll work your front desk for you, give me a discount on my site, things like that. So that's work camping. Another way to think of it is kind of what I do. I work full time as we're camping, so some people may consider that work camping as well. But usually it really kind of means you're going to a campground, you're trading some work for some kind of benefits for staying at the campground.
Okay.
This next group is, I put it under weights and measurements. This is probably going to be a little bit boring. I'll get through these as quick as I can. But these are really some terms that you really, these are some very important terms. And some of these you really need to understand before you go out and buy an RV or before you go out and buy a tow vehicle. So, pay attention to these. And I'm going to give you my definitions, but please, do your own research, look them up, get maybe the proper definition for them. I'm going to be close, but I'm not going to be word for word.
And please, if you have any comments or anything you'd like to add, please do so, because we're fine with it. We love to hear from you guys anyway.
Yeah, we love the feedback.
Yes.
And as a matter of fact, speaking of that, if you do find this kind of information helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe. It really helps our videos get out to more RVers, and hopefully we can help some more RVers and some more newbies as well.
Exactly.
So thank you. So let's get started. CCC, or cargo carrying capacity. Now this is how much weight basically can you put in your RV? How much are you allowed to carry? And what a lot of people forget is this includes, water, if it's, fuel, anything extra. Once you buy your RV, anything extra you're going to put into that. Toy haulers, and if you're looking into toy haulers, it usually means you want to put a toy in the back, maybe a motorcycle, an ATV, or something like that. Some of these toy haulers, their cargo carrying capacity isn't that much, and by putting in let's say 1,000-pound toy in the back, you could be getting close to that limit. So if you are looking for a toy hauler, just kind of be aware of that, your cargo carrying capacity, CCC. Dry weight. Dry weight is what does your RV weigh coming off the assembly line. When you get an RV, there's a sticker on the side. It's going to give you the weight and some other information on it as well.
That's usually by the front door, correct?
Front left side.
Front left. Oh, okay.
Yeah, there'll be a sticker on the front left side. So this is how much the RV weighs, basically coming off the assembly line.
Right.
This does not include, again, if you have to add water in your tanks, or you're going to put something in your RV, and like that. This is just the RV itself. GAWR, gross axle rate weighting. Basically, it's what it says. It's how much weight per axle. How much weight is an axle allowed to carry on it? Now, our RV has 3 axles. They're rated for 8,000 pounds each. We got I think a standard's like a 7,000 pound axle. We beefed ours up a little bit just because I wanted the disc brake. So it's how much weight can you put on each axle, or on a axle. GCWR, gross combination weight rating. Now this, I'm going to take our situation. So it's a gross combination weight. And what that means in our particular case, we have a tow vehicle and we have an RV. Those combined, how much can we weigh? And there's limits. You put everything together, you're only allowed to weigh so much going down the road. Now this includes everything. As you're driving down the road, if you have people in your RV, tanks are full of water, fuel, supplies, toys, all that stuff is added up together for your gross combined weight rating. We also have gross, I would say GVWR, gross vehicle weight rating. Now again, in our particular case, we're talking about a tow vehicle. How much can that weigh? How much can that vehicle actually weigh going down the road? And this would include passengers, fuel, of any kinds of fluids, any cargo in the bed, any cargo in the back seat, any weight from the RV on the back of the on the back of the tow vehicle. That's the gross vehicle rating. And we also have tongue weight. Now, if you're going to get a travel trailer, again, that's one that you would hook like basically to the bumper of a tow vehicle. You're gonna want to know about tongue weight. This is really just how much weight is allowed on the back of a vehicle. Tongue weight. It's usually about 10 to 15% of the weight of an RV. I think I said that wrong. Tongue weight is the weight of, it's not the tow vehicle weight, but it's the, I guess there's two ways of doing it. A tow vehicle is allowed so much for a tongue weight. I think they're rated for tongue weight, but also an RV has a tongue weight, and it's basically saying this is how much it weighs in the front of my RV. If I was to take the front of the RV, put it on the back of your truck, this is how much weight I'm going to put down. And that's usually like 10 to 15% of the total weight of an RV. So that's tongue weight. I try to get through those as quick as possible because I know they're kind of boring. This last one we have, we're almost done here. These are just some general RV terms. Again, these are terms that you should really know. They're just very basic. Yeah. First one is basement. You want to cover that one?
Basement is our storage room downstairs.
So honestly, a basement is just a storage compartment. In our particular case, ours is up front underneath the front bedroom. Class A's could have, I shouldn't even say that, different RVs, different motorhomes could have basements all over the place. You know, some are just huge, some are big, but it's basically just
a lot of people call them storage compartments.
Storage compartment.
We call it basement.
We call it the basement. And we have an attic too.
Yeah, we have an attic too. We're glampers.
Black water tank. Again, this is basically sewage. It's black water. Think of a black water tank. When you use the restrooms in your RV, all that liquid and whatever else is in there has to go somewhere, and it usually goes in what's called a black water tank. There's also gray water tanks. Now, we happen to have 2 gray water tanks, just not, I guess it doesn't really even matter, but a gray water tank, it's somewhere in between good water and the black water. So it's usually like your showers, your sinks, when you're doing dishes, any of that old dishwater,
clothes,
laundry,
clothes,
that usually goes into what's called a gray water tank. And then you also have a freshwater tank, and it's exactly what it sounds. It's your fresh water. This is the water you can drink from. You would take showers with it. When you use a sink, that's the water coming out of the sink. You're doing dishes, that's the water you're going to clean your dishes with. So you have black, gray, and fresh. And those are all kind of classified as holding tanks. So you may hear somebody talking about holding tanks. Yeah. That's usually what they're talking about, is either a black tank or a gray tank or a freshwater tank. Next on our list is Blue Boy. And we're actually probably going to have to use or buy one of these here pretty soon. So Blue Boy, let me back up a little bit. We're going to be staying at a campground later on this year that is only a partial hookup. So again, partial hookup, we're not going to have sewage available to us. So anytime we use the restroom, we wash dishes, laundry, all that water is going to go into our holding tanks. And somehow we need to get the water out of our holding tanks and dump it somewhere. Right, so there's a few different ways of doing this. One is worst case scenario. Every week we clean our tanks out or flush them out once a week. Every week we could pack everything up in the RV, go to the campground's dump station, dump our tanks, clean them out, and then come back and set everything back up again. That seems like kind of a waste of time to me. Another option would be to hire a service like with a honey wagon. And again, a honey wagon is basically a truck with a big container in the back that they'll come to your site, they'll pump out your tanks and put it into their container, then it's up to them to go dump it off somewhere and do what they need to do with it. A third option would be with something called a Blue Boy. And you may have seen these. Lots of times you'll see them on the back of an RV when they're driving down the road. They're kind of stored on the outside. You don't want to store it on the inside of an RV.
No, you don't.
But kind of picture a wagon, like a kid's wagon, but it's enclosed. So what happens is when you go to flush out your tanks or dump your tanks, you would take that bad water, put it or drain it into the Blue Boy. And then the Blue Boy, you take that to the dump station and dump it out. So, and usually this would all be done within the campground itself. So you would put the Blue Boy next to your Stinky Slinky, connect that to the Blue Boy, fill it up as much as you can get in there. Usually they have handles on them, so you just walk it down the road to the dump station and then dump it out at the campground.
I think we would have to do that more than one. I think that'd be more than one walk for us.
Oh, I know it would be. Yeah, we hold, I believe, over 100 gallons of black water and somewhere around 140, I believe, of gray water, another 140 of fresh water. So
that's a lot.
It'd be a lot of trips.
Yeah, it would be.
So, anyways, that's what a Blue Boy is. Now, speaking of Blue Boy, the next thing on our list kind of has two terms for the same thing: a Sani-Dump or a dump station. So we're taking again this Blue Boy to a dump station, and all of that really is just a legal place or a place that you're allowed to go and dump your wastewater. Now, a lot of RV parks, if you're staying there, you can just dump at their dump stations free of charge.
Right.
Others, maybe if you're passing through, they may charge a fee to use their dump station. Some truck stops have dump stations, and other places as well can have dump stations too. So again, a dump station is just a place to empty out your tanks. And you really, again, some common courtesy at dump stations: pick up after yourself. If you do have a little bit of spillage or something, be courteous and hose it down. It's not a place to be cleaning out your tanks and flushing them and making sure everything's nice and pretty. You're just dumping stuff out, getting out of the way for the next RVer in line. Next one on our list, and one of my favorites, Honey Wagon. Honey Wagon. And sorry guys, this isn't an RV full of beautiful women. A Honey Wagon, getting back to the dump stations and the Blue Boys, it's just, honestly, it's like a service. It could be a pickup truck with a large container on the back, and what they'll do is, you have to pay for it. They'll come out to usually your RV site, they'll hook right up to your sewage system, and they'll actually pump out your tanks for you and put it back into their own container, and then they go and take care of it as they need to take care of it. So that's a Honey Wagon. Sorry to say it, guys, but it's not what you were hoping it was. A little bit of lower level stuff now. A converter. A converter converts 120 volts to 12 volts. If you're not familiar with RVs, there's most of them, they have multiple systems or multiple electrical systems in them. 120 volts, these are your wall outlets. If you have a microwave, it's probably on 120 volts. Our refrigerators, 120 volts. Our washer and dryers, 120 volts. But believe it or not, most everything else in here runs off of 12 volts. Our lights, slides and things like that, it all runs off of 12 volts. So a converter is used when you're plugged into shore power. You're plugged in, you have full hookups. It can take that 120 volts, convert it to 12 volts, so now you have 12 volts inside your RV, and it also can charge your batteries as well. Now the opposite of that is an inverter. An inverter takes 12 volts and converts it to 120 volts. And the best way I can explain, or how you would use this, on our travel days, our refrigerator runs off of 120 volts. So as we're traveling down the road, we have our inverter turned on and supplying 120 volts to our refrigerator. So we can run all day, the refrigerator, everything inside of it stays cool, and we're good to go. And as we're driving, our tow vehicle, through the connection to the RV, is actually charging the battery. So it's kind of we're good to go. We've never had a problem.
It's wonderful.
Yeah, it's really, really nice. So an inverter is the opposite of a converter. Inverter is 120 to 12 volts. Leveling jacks. Now there's multiple kinds of leveling jacks. We happen to have hydraulic jacks, and honestly what they are is exactly what they sound like. They're for leveling an RV. There's some you'll see you have to crank by hand. I think more and more of those are kind of getting away from, and there's you know, you can have electrical leveling jacks or hydraulic jacks, and again all these are used for is for leveling your RV and stabilizing your RV. And you'll see them if you ever look at an RV somewhere, just look at the corners usually and you'll see that the jack sticking down. Newbie, if you're watching this video, you're a newbie.
As are we.
A newbie is just a slang for a new RVer, that's all, nothing to be ashamed of.
Hey, I love it. You can call me a newbie anytime you want.
Shore power. Going back to full hookups or maybe even mooch docking, if you have power. Shore power is just the ability to hook up your RV to a power outlet somewhere. Usually in a campsite, there's a pedestal there. It will have most likely a 50 amp, a 30 amp, and maybe a 15 or 20 amp breaker and outlets in there. So that's shore power. It's just a way to get power from, let's say, again, let's just assume a campsite into your RV. Last but not least,
Slinky.
Your favorite. Stinky Slinky. You want to cover this one?
Well, since you're the pro, no, I'm kidding. This is what some RVers call a flexible sewer hose used to dump the RV waste tank.
So a Stinky Slinky.
Well,
It says big orange
I don't
tubes.
work with that stuff. That's your department.
I know. Stinky Slinkies, it's just another name for basically a sewer hose or a drainage hose. These are the hoses you would attach to your holding tanks, and when you go to flush out your holding tanks, let's assume you're in an RV park with full hookups, so you're going to go from your holding tanks into the campground sewage system. Those are called Stinky Slinkies.
Now, aren't you glad that you explained that much better than I ever could?
So you need to have more experience working with them there.
Okay, then we'll go over the inside when we get done with this video.
Oh, we got to go, guys. So those are the terms that we have. We kind of think those are the basic terms that every RVer should know. Again, if you're an experienced RVer, please leave some comments below, but
Or more experience than us.
Yeah. If you can think of some terms that we didn't mention, please leave those in the comments below and help out some of these newbies.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And hopefully we can get enough people that we can really get a pretty good list of some terms.
Or if, just for fun, if you have some of your own words that you've come up with,
keep them clean.
comment below and let us know. We'd love to hear about that
Those might
too.
get pretty funny.
That might be, that would be fun.
Hopefully you enjoyed the video.
Thanks again, everybody, for all your comments, your love, your prayers. It very much appreciated while I recover from my knee replacement surgery and my fall, which I am pretty much recovered from. But thank you all so much. It really meant a lot to me. I really appreciate it. You guys have a great week, and may God bless you all.
Remember, always live life to the fullest.
See ya.